The reason why I picked this one as one of the Vomit Bag Classics is just because the amount of scenes of people being cut open and torturous scenes, people being tortured by this person that runs around in a raincoat. So like I said, I'm not picking this one because of the plot, because the plot is very convoluted, like I said, and it's hard to follow. And other than the gore aspect of it, the only other people that would probably enjoy this film would be hardcore Asian horror film aficionados. So basically, the only reason for watching this is that it showcases a lot of very visceral gore. Like I said, people with their intestines hanging out and people getting tortured by this mysterious person. There's just a ton of scenes like that. It's your basic stalk and slash with a little extra gore piled on top of it. So, like I said, I'm not going to go into a complete review of this because the plot is so complex. You just literally have to see it for yourself and decide if you like the movie enough to stick with it. Now, if you're just wanting it for the gore scenes, you could probably literally fast forward it or select a scene and go to the certain scenes where it shows the gore. And it would probably make as much sense as watching the whole entire movie. So, is it a very good story? No. But for the purposes of this list, I think it works well into that Vomit Bag Classic list. So that's Evil Dead Trap. The next one is Intruder, that was directed by Scott Spiegel. As you can see, this is the unrated director's cut, which is basically the only way to see this film. I wouldn't even bother with a cut version of Intruder because you're not going to get the full experience of this film watching it cut. It just doesn't have that impact. This is a film that does have Bruce Campbell in a small role. Sam Raimi is in it. Ted Raimi is in it. I believe even Greg Nicotero of K&B is in it really briefly. Danny Hicks is in it. So there's a lot of Sam Raimi alumni that are in this film. And Scott Spiegel is a friend of Sam Raimi. So that explains why all these different people are in it. But the reason I picked this one for the list is because of the very creative, very gory scenes that are in the film. One guy gets his head completely sawed in half by a meat saw. Sam Raimi's character gets his head plunged on some kind of meat hook, and he's just hanging there with this hook going up around his, it's pretty much almost through his eye. You may be able to see a little bit, yeah, you can see a little bit of that on the back here. One guy gets his head crushed in a, I believe it must be some kind of machine that flattens boxes. So it, you know, it's pretty bloody. I mean, it comes right down on the guy's head and the head just pops, just like a watermelon. And then, of course, people get slashed with knives and things like that. One guy gets his eye skewered on those little spindles that you put papers on or receipts on. And I mean, it shows up close in detail this spindle going through this guy's eye. It's very bloody, very creative. And I think it fits in very well with some of these other films. So that's Intruder. The next one is, of course, Pieces. And for those of you that haven't seen Pieces, now don't be expecting like Tobe Hooper's Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's not on that level. Because really, even though Texas Chainsaw Massacre is a classic, the gore is almost non-existent in Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's very, very tame, with the exception of maybe a couple of scenes. But with Pieces, even though the storyline and some of the characters are a little off in this film, the basis for the film is the gore. I mean, you see a woman getting chainsawed in half in the bathroom after she's urinated on herself because she's so scared this guy's coming up to her with a chainsaw. Then she gets sliced in half, and then when the people find her, you see like half of her body laying beside the other half of her body, and it's interesting to say the least. One girl gets her arms both lopped off in an elevator. One girl gets her head cut off near the beginning of the film by the chainsaw, and you see the body just kind of twitching and pumping blood out of the neck after the head has been severed. So there's a ton of that kind of stuff in the film. And like I said, it's not on the classic level of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but as far as a gore aspect, it fits in well with the Vomit Bag Classic list, because it's just too gory to be ignored that way. I mean, yes, like I said, the characters are hokey, over the top. Some of the people couldn't act to save their life in this film. But that's not why I watched the film. When I watch Pieces, I'm watching it because I know I'm going to get to see some pretty good gore scenes and pretty good effects films, or effects scenes. And that's the sole purpose of watching this movie. Don't go into it expecting a classic. Anything with the title Pieces, you can pretty much guarantee it's not going to be a classic film. It's just a fun exploitational film to pass 90 minutes with. So that's Pieces. The next one is The Toolbox Murders. And again, for anybody that's never seen this movie, you might not really know what to expect with it. But, you know, the title pretty much says it all. The killer in the film, literally uses tools that you would find in a toolbox. He uses drills. Uses, in one particular scene, he uses a nail gun and repeatedly shoots nails into this woman who is fully nude, because when the guy comes into her apartment, she's taking a bath, and so she jumps out of the bath and she's trying to get away from him, and he's shooting her repeatedly with this nail gun until she dies. I believe some people may get hit with hammers, and it doesn't pull any punches, and it's not for people, definitely not for people with weak stomachs. There are a couple of oddly placed characters in this that don't seem to fit, but the overall film, as primarily an exploitation or a gore film, it works. It works on that level. If it works on no other level, it works on that one. So if you want to pass, about 80 or 90 minutes watching a pure exploitational film with not a lot of plot to get in the way, then The Toolbox Murders is definitely one to try.